You're listening to Cash and Sass. I'm Lisa Marie, your go-to gal for all things money. As the Sassy Wealth Queen and the brains behind the Sassy Wealth Coach, I'm here to take you on a thrilling ride from the financial chaos to sassy and sexy money. Welcome back, my sassy friend, to Cash and Sass podcast. This is Lisa Marie, the brains behind Cash and Sass podcast and the Sassy Wealth Coach, and I'm known as the Sassy Wealth Queen. And with me today is my guest, Sean Tepper. He's the founder and CEO of Tykr. See, I said it right that time. A software that helps people manage their own investments with confidence. He originally created Tykr as an Excel sheet in 2016 to save time with investing. And after 4 years, he made consistent returns ranging, y'all, between 15% and 50% per year. And in 2019, he started sharing this Excel sheet with other investors, and everyone asked him, when are you going to turn this into a software to share with others? Tykr took about 1 year to build and officially went live in 2020. Today, Tykr has over 8,000 customers in over 50 countries. Y'all, okay, I'm going to say it. That's just huge. One, investing is very scary to a lot of people, and I'll be honest, including me. Especially when the percentages and numbers and all that stuff doesn't make sense. So we're going to get into that. But can you tell me, I'm interested, how did you get into creating something like that? Was that from that money mindset and that kind of thing? What led you to create that?
Yeah, I'll give you the backstory a little bit here. I always like to thank the host, but first off, I know your podcast is growing fast, so thanks for having me on the show. I was able to sneak in.
Thank you for coming.
Yes.
Thank you for coming.
So the backstory here real quick, and thank you. Your pitch there was brilliant, so we'll just take that spot out. But I had a service business in the 2000s. It was my background is about 20 years in tech, actually. And I had a service business building websites and doing software for small and mid-sized businesses in the 2000s, made like no money through the recession. I was bringing on a lot of employees, bringing on more clients, and then many months would go by and I'd be like, well, here's another month I don't get to pay myself. Wonderful. But learned a lot through that time period. 2010 hit. We started growing a little quicker and a larger agency came and said, hey, we would like you to merge with us. And it wasn't like a big check was written. It was like, hey, all debts and liabilities wiped out. And essentially I got a fresh start. And I knew at that point, how do I, instead of working for money, how do I flip that equation and get money working for me? And I knew like, investing is a great place to be. I always respected guys like Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger. But I kind of went at it a little more risky, which is called angel investing, which is essentially instead of investing in public companies, I invested in private companies, think like tech companies. And I did that for a few years. And at the same time, I did corporate contracting, IT contracting. So some of the companies I worked with were like GE and Kohler and a few others. They're all great companies, and I learned a ton. But I got into investing the wrong way, private investing. 2015 hit, and that's when I started doing homework and like, okay, so Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger able to beat the market consistently. And I know these are not gambling men. They don't use feelings or emotions, which means they're probably using some sort of math. So took about a year of homework to really, I was on YouTube. I was reading a ton of books, and a lot of books out there have a lot of fluff and noise that's over-engineered, and found a guy by the name of Phil Town who simplified it a little bit. Big call out or shout out to him. He's got a few good books, including Rule 1 and Payback Time. He also wrote another book with his daughter, Danielle, which is called Invested. I have not read it, but I'm sure it's great. And that really helped me put me on a smarter path because it provided some of the math that Warren and Charlie use. So I thought, okay, let's put that into an Excel sheet. You told the rest of the story. I tested it, iterated it. I wanted to create a point system that made it really easy to understand, like, is this stock a good investment or bad investment? Because so many tools out there don't give you that, like, think like a red light, green light decision-making process. I wanted that. So that's why I created the point system. And it would take me like 10 to 15 minutes to analyze one stock because it was like copy and paste from one monitor to the other. But yeah, my returns were usually between 15 and 50% per year, is actually closer to that 50. And that's, you told the story. I shared it. People were like, turn it into a software. Took a year to build. It took a year to find the first paying customer, but I've been building software for a long time by this point. And when building software, your objective is not to make money upfront, it's to get feedback really fast from your customers. You want to, like my objective was get it in the hands of 100 people for free. But in return, I want your feedback and don't hold back. I want to know what's wrong with it. What can I do better? And that's how you build software is you want the worst feedback up front first. And then it really led to, okay, we started getting paying customers, getting more feedback. And it's just about iterating the tool, making it better. And as you said, we just crossed actually 9,000 customers and still in about 50 countries. So yeah, that's kind of the backstory on the platform.
And what had you, I'm interested in, one of the things you said, like what's the hardest part of managing like the financial side of entrepreneurship. You were talking about to think bigger and take bigger action. And, you've even said that at times you would catch yourself with tasks that didn't generate significant revenue. Yeah. And we have people all the time that'll say, you get caught in those in-business tasks and you're not actually doing that. But what are some of the things that got you called into that? Like, where was your mindset when you began your entrepreneurship and like creating a software company and stuff like that to where it is now?
Yeah. So one thing I give a shout out to my dad. He's really helpful in this. He's like, do that which generates revenue first. So what I do is, and I've always done this, is every day, like when I'm ending my day of work, I'm old school. I use pen and paper. I write down all the tasks I need to create. And to be honest with you, like any entrepreneur, the majority of them don't generate revenue. Like you need to get them done, but should you actually be doing them? The answer is, well, you could probably kick that can down the road. So I try to.
You probably should be doing them, but but you need to either delegate, and if you need to do them, you need to make sure you're doing them quicker so you can go and get into
100%, right? So focus on that. I try to, and then I'll put like numbers next to each row. Like, okay, so this is a 1. I got to get it done. 2s, 3s, and right. You work your way down. So that's always been my working process. So then my next day when I come back, like, I am focused. I know what I need to do. And another thing it does too is I can, thank God I'm on a good stretch now, but I can have sleeping issues while I'll be overanalyzing. I know maybe you or some of your listeners have the same issues. You wake up in the middle of the night, you're thinking of things, and then you're rethinking things. It's like, it's a waste of time. So having you do that end of your work day, like your task list, and then you don't think about it. You visit it tomorrow, we'll get it done then. So that's always been my working process on how to prioritize.
I like that. But how did that help with your money mindset? Like one of the things you even talked about was that you were, still basically what I say, you're a work in progress. So scarcity mindset is where, the money is relied upon. So you're still training your brain to realize that money is a tool, not a source. And I tell people constantly that this is something we're going to work on all the time. How did that come into play? Like I guess what I'm asking is, where was your money mindset in the beginning?
Oh yeah. Like you were maybe raised in the same kind of household, and this was probably very common in the 80s and 90s, which is, money doesn't grow on trees and money is very scarce and we can't afford that. And not you should be flipping that. We can't afford that to how do I afford that? That's the mindset. And it was really the journey of reading more books. And I'm not big on following gurus. Like I'll listen to them and kind of write down tips and tricks, but I'm not a diehard like this person, and would just read a ton of books and started to transition or transform my mindset to be like, oh, okay, so money's a tool. It should be used for good. Don't grow attached to it. And one thing too that's an issue with a lot of people is they're like bowing to money. Like they're working for it. It's like the most important thing in their life. And it's like, you got to flip that. So money works for you. Money bows to you. Like you're in control. And when you can get to that mindset and realize, like, I'll use this phrase, like the hammer that's sitting in my garage, do I have any emotional attachment to it? Absolutely not. Like I look at my business the same way, like to be blunt, and I look at money the same way. Like that's a tool. If it's taken away, so be it. Go find another tool, right? And I had to train my mindset, and I still do, is remind myself, like, if I have a slower month, like, don't freak out. This is like, we're still in a bootstrapping phase. We don't have venture capital. It's like, we've had some tough months, and it's like, okay, it's just a tool. Don't freak out. Things will come together. So training that mindset, it's an ongoing journey. I haven't say I've arrived, but I have to remind myself, like, hey, it's okay. Like, you have to remember it's a tool. And when you can do that and put less emotion on money, it seems like your revenue does increase for some reason. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I tell people quite often, my clients and my listeners, that we have to change our relationship with money. Yeah. And, you know, when we see it as a tool, but we're treating it good, because, you know, I tell people all the time, you know, if you treat money bad, or if you treat someone bad, would they stick around? If someone treated you bad, would you stick around? You know, if they talk bad about you, the answer is no. So, you know, if someone asked me this a long time ago, right before I did my deep dive into money mindset, and I did the same thing. I went and listened to, some podcasts. I disagreed with some of the big gurus. And so I then went into, actually, I disagreed with a lot of them. I went and did deep dives into the books, you know, and pulled out, you know, and I tell people all the time, the same thing with my podcast and any book and any guru, pull out the information that is beneficial to you, and then leave the rest. We say that for all the coaching, for anything really, right? And so I did a deep dive into the books as well. And the thing that I found was, you know, when we show appreciation for the money and we say thank you, and, you know, appreciation to the universe, thank you for having the money to pay the bill, thank you for being able to invest in this, those kind of things, that, like you said, when you don't have the attachment and you're showing your appreciation, it's like you have a good relationship with it. You like the money. You're not needy of it.
Right.
And you don't hate it. And you're not going, you know, acting like it's disgusting. It is. It's amazing how the world, the universe, how it just kind of opens up. And, you know, I tell people all the time that our mindset is a piece of that, and we have to know how to manage it as well, right? And we have to be able to also know how to invest. And so I think that's the reason why I love the fact that you created the software, because I know me being one of them, some of the things, if I don't understand it, it becomes scary. And a lot of the softwares, you just can't understand it. And so I think the fact that you created that really, really, I don't know, it speaks to me. I love the fact that you did that. And one of the things that you, you know, talked about was being able to like take bigger action. So when you say think bigger and take bigger action, what are some of the things you do to do that? And what are some tips that you can give my listeners as far as that money mindset piece, right? So that they can do those bigger action steps that they're wanting to do.
Yeah, this has been an ongoing journey too. Is there's people out there that they'll set goals, but they'll be using the word just in their mind. Like, I just want this, or I just want to hit this. And that's a limited mindset. And you got to think bigger. You got to dream bigger. Like, why are you here? Like, to be honest with you, I won't get too preachy here, but I'm a Christian, and I read the Bible, and one of the wisest persons like ever was Solomon. And this guy's all about like how to make money a tool, how to think bigger. And like studying that has really transformed my mindset. Like, you have, like, setting these small goals is like, it's too small business, small minded. Like, are you here to make an impact? Or are you here to just get by? Right. Like, so I had to train my mind to think bigger. Like, I have to think. So I will revise my goals like all the time. And then you got to reverse engineer them. Like, how do I achieve that? So for example, it was like, okay, so 20,000 subscribers, 50,000 subscribers. What am I doing here? Like, there's platforms I follow that are publicly traded that have millions. Why not that? Why not that, Sean? So it's that type of attitude. Like, you just want this, or you want to go big. So that's really going back to Solomon. Like, okay, the guy knows the thing about setting big goals.
Yeah, and part of that, I love what you just said too, because that's something we actually talked about earlier. Like when we're setting our quarter two goals, why not? why not go to the next big level? And a lot of people, you won't think that word just is limiting, and it is. So one of the things I do is when I write my goals or I say something, I'll go, I'll look at it and I'll see if I wrote a word that could be considered limiting. And a lot of times we do that as humans and we don't even realize it, right? And then I'll do like you do, I'll go and revise it. And I think it's really important, one, not to beat yourself up if you see that you did. Two, go back and revise it and know that it doesn't change overnight. That is like my biggest huge thing. I tell people I'm 7 years in the works with my mindset, especially my money mindset. And I do, I listen to Insight Timer. So at night I have abundance thing that talks to me for 2 hours. Right. And as I'm going to sleep, and I have, one I listen to every morning, right before I go to journal, because I'm the type of person, if I get in my head, there's nothing coming out on the paper. And I'm analytical, so I will tend to get in my head a lot. And so my point is that, some of the things that work for you or some of the things that work for me may not work for someone else. And so that was one of the things we realized, is just sitting down to write wasn't going to work. And so we found a way, okay, by this time you may be already in your head. So let's listen to something that's going to help you get it out. So then you can get it out on paper, because journaling helps. Because what it is you're reframing your mind, you're retraining your brain. And I think it's important. Money is a tool. It's energy. It's a tool. And it goes as far as we let it. If we let it work for us and we let it work for us so we can make an impact, the impact we can make is unlimited, right? And if we treat it like it's the end all be all, then, when we don't have enough of it, or what we think is enough of it, then we're going to have that anxiety and that stress and that demeanor. And part of that's our society too, right? Our society does not help in that matter. Right. And we still have to be the ones to decide how, okay, am I here, like you said, just to get by? Or am I here to make an impact? And I think that's funny too, because I'm going to tell you, Sean, that when I first started my business, my thing that I said out loud to my family when they realized I wasn't going back to a corporate job was that, and I told them, I said, if I'm going to just get by, then I'm going to do it on my terms. And I'm going to do it at home where I'm with my girls, not working 50 hours a week, 55 hours a week for someone else to get rich. And so it's funny because I was okay, and honest to goodness, I was okay with the just getting by at the time, as long as it was on my terms. And I think that's where is a key thing is then realizing, hey, you doing this on your terms, you actually have more potential than that quote unquote just getting by. Yeah. And I had to learn to take that limiting word out, because at the time I didn't realize it was a limiting word, right? But I had to take it out and realize that it was limiting. But at that moment, I still felt that way. And so I think it's awesome that you have this mindset. And so one of the things I want to ask you, what are some questions that you ask yourself when you say, does this activity generate revenue? Like, how do you determine, because in some way, some of the stuff you do with clients, right, are going to generate revenue. But how do you actually look at and say, does this generate more revenue? What are some of the things you ask yourself or that you look at?
Yeah, so to kind of back into it, I look at what grows my business model the most. For example, we're a software as a service, and with that, you're not serving a customer like a one-on-one, like a coaching or a consulting or something like that. So it's beautiful. You're not trading your time for a paycheck. I always aspired to create like Netflix or Salesforce or MailChimp. I looked at those businesses in the 2000s. I'm like, that is my dream business. I just didn't have any great ideas. So now it's beautiful. I get to kind of merge like investing in tech into one. But so what the question is, how do you grow a SaaS business the fastest? Well, fortunately, working for large companies, where they grow the fastest, it's not Facebook ads, it's not social media, it's not Google ads, it's channel partners. And what that means is partnering with other businesses that already have your audience. They can have millions of people already, and you partner with them, and then you run a campaign and you share in the profits. And I've done campaigns, I give credit to the salespeople, my engineers, but I've done campaigns where I've generated $15 million or more in one day. You can't do that any other way. You have to do it with channel partners. So I always ask myself, how do I provide value to a channel partner, which in my case, I'd give you an example, like we work well with like YouTube influencers and bloggers that are talking about finance, and even other tech companies that serve the retail investor. I will go to them and say, hey, can we partner up? I'll help you promote my platform and then share in the revenue ongoing. We have a commission plan, and they'll be like, that's great, especially if we do the heavy lifting on the back end. Our tech does all the automation. It's a win for them. And so I'm thinking about, how do I get not one relationship, but 3, 5, 10, 20, and driving towards that. There's other things I can do that make improvements to tech and doing this and that's all nice. But I'm always asking, how do I get another channel partner? And what steps do I need to take to get there as fast as possible? So that's how I prioritize.
Yeah. And, and for the ones that are service providers or coaches, I would say that it's, what is going to put you out there more to get you in front of your customers. And that could be also partnering with someone, collaborating with someone. That could also be, like me doing the podcast and getting my name out there more. And I'm doing more I'll be doing more live streams. And so there's different ways. I always tell people to think outside the box. And I'm going to be honest, I still have to make sure, or I catch myself, but I still check in with myself to make sure I'm not just working in the business. Because as an entrepreneur, you're right. There's these ebbs and flows. And, you're going to have tight months. You're going to have slow months. You're going to have really fast-paced months. And I believe that's just the world of being an entrepreneur and being your own business owner. That doesn't ever stop. At least in the 7 years I've had mine, it hasn't stopped. So I've come to the conclusion that that's just an ongoing thing. And from everyone I've talked to, they say it is. It's just part of owning your own business. And you have to check in and make sure you're not spending majority of your time in the business, but you're also working on the business. And it's very easy to get to the point where you're working all in it and not on it. And you just have to then, same thing with boundaries or working on your mindset, rein yourself back, right? Bring yourself back and look at it and ask the questions. Is this going to help me generate more revenue? How is this helping my business grow? And sometimes that'll be hiring somebody. There's just different ways to doing that. Can you please tell our listeners about the freebie thing that you have for them? You have a free offer for them so that they know what it is.
Yeah, so Tykr is a 14-day free trial, no credit card. We want people joining with the least amount of friction as possible. Like test drive the car before you drive it off the lot.
I like that.
And there's software platforms out there you can join for free, but they ask you for your credit card. That drives me crazy. And so get in, test drive it, and so 80% of our audience are complete beginners. They've never invested before, and we try to make it very easy to use. This is a miss that a lot of other software platforms focus on, is they're very male focused. Like our platform is very male and female focused to bring people in and empower women. I know you've got a lot of listeners in your audience that are...
Yes, and I'm very much about empowering women.
Yeah, how do they take control of their investments? Because it can be, in most cases, the husband is managing the finances. And it's we could really go down a rabbit hole here. It's there are a lot, I'm talking to a few women that are just crushing it. They're beating the market because they're using Tykr. They're buying. We're all about what's called value investing, which is buying financially safe businesses. And then you want a focused portfolio of about 10 to 15 stocks. And that's it. If you can do that, invest every month, you can beat the market. It's actually pretty easy to do. And there are a lot of women who are doing it.
And I'm going to ask a couple more questions before we stop, because that just triggered a couple more questions.
Sure.
Do you work with, like, if a woman was to go to this website, to your website, is there like instructions showing them or explaining to them, okay, how to do the step-by-step so that they can crush it?
Absolutely. So our web app right now, our mobile app's coming very soon for both iOS and Android. So the web app, when you join, our onboarding is very friendly and encouraging, gets you up to speed right away day one. And then we send you a list that same day of all the email steps, like when do you buy? When do you sell? What do you look for? How do you reduce risk? You can read it all in one go, but we also then pepper your inbox over the next 20 plus days with those same tips to kind of stay forward in front and reiterate, like, here is when you buy, here's when you sell, here's how you use the Tykr scoring system. There's other little indicators, but it's written in simple terms, no $20 words you find in corporate finance. Like, let's keep it simple. And that, we're just hammering that over and over. Now, when you get the mobile app will have learning modules very much inspired by Duolingo. Like, you ever use Duolingo for like language learning? Okay. Yeah, I remember seeing that platform. I'm like, that we need to do for investing. But like all the education, right, is broken down in simple bite-sized pieces so you can get up to speed, like go to 0 to 60 as fast as possible. So you could be a complete beginner now. And in about a half an hour, you probably know more than most people who've been investing for 20 years. I've got testimonials on our Trustpilot that are kind of mirroring that comment. Like, I learned more in an hour than I did in 20 years.
And so you'll be able to actually learn from it and do the investing from the app.
Now, the app is considered a screener. So you do the learning, you can find stocks. For example, we've got about 40,000 stocks around the globe. We've got about 1,500 ETFs. That's just a bundle of stocks. And we do have crypto, but the crypto is only to attract the crypto investors and show them you can invest in crypto, but you want to be an individual stock. So we're a screener. We do recommend a list of brokers. A broker is where you connect your bank account. Here in the US, the popular ones are like TD Ameritrade, E-Trade, Fidelity, Robinhood is popular. But people can use whatever broker they want. And we phrase it this way: your broker is your vehicle. Your screener is like gas, or if you drive electric, it's electric. You need the two working together. You can technically just use a broker, but then you're dead in the water. You don't know what's good, what's bad, what could lose your money, you know? And we will say this is, I tell people, if you're not going to use Tykr, that's fine. However, I do recommend go check out our competition. I always give great reviews of our two top competitors, which would be Simply Wall Street and Seeking Alpha, because you don't want to invest blind. So again, you're not going to use Tykr, use one of those because you want to know what you're doing. So
what your software does is help, like, for example, if I'm in Robinhood, your software helps me make sure I use that I'm investing to where I'm actually having money work for me, and I'm having a huge growth instead of a tiny growth that I actually have right now because I don't know what I'm doing. So that's what you're talking about, right?
Correct. Like, and most people like you, they're going to join Robinhood and they're going to buy a few stocks. They'll hear something from a friend.
Oh yeah, and I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. I'll be honest, I have no idea.
Now, like, I'll phrase it this way: when we tell customers this, if anybody out there, anybody ever tells you to buy a stock, the last thing you should buy that stock, the first thing you should do is ask why. And then you sit back and you let them try to answer that question logically. In most cases, it's just going to be a bunch of fluff. So I always go to Tykr, like if I hear something on a podcast or YouTube. Yeah. So you'll know what to do pretty quick by using Tykr.
Okay. Well, see, y'all, I'm going to be going there. I'm just going to tell you now because, again, I haven't done much with Robinhood. I pretty much gave up because, again, it's confusing. And I'm very analytical, and if I don't understand something and it's confusing, you make it hard, then why do I want to do it? Because then it makes me afraid of, losing money instead of having the money work for me. Thank you so much for being on my podcast. And I'm going to say thank you for creating something that is able to not only be for the men, but also for the females, and is also empowering the women to be able to not only stand on their own 2 feet, which has been my goal, and empower women, but also empower women to not only take control of their money, but also control of their investments so that their money is working for them in all areas. I believe that, when we have money management system, we're able to do the investments and we're able to save for vacations and all that. And that's how the money works for us, is when we know what's going on with it. And a lot of that is understanding it. I truly appreciate you for being on the show. And thank you again, my sassy friend, for listening. And until next time, remember, yes, money can be sassy and sexy. Bye.
Thanks for joining us this week on Cash and Sass. Check us out on social media and on our website at www.thesassywealthcoach.com, where you can download my free Money Story Start Guide. The website again is www.thesassywealthcoach.com. And as always, subscribe to the show to catch every new episode and leave us a review so we can continue to bring you fresh content. And remember, yes, it is possible to have sassy and sexy money. See you next week.